Bat family, welcome to a brand new video on not the Batman, but Batman in general. So you guys have really enjoyed my past two retrospective videos on the Reeves-verse Batman, and don't worry, we've got some more of those somewhat reaction, commentary, breakdown videos coming your way in the future. But during the content drought right now, during the absence of news, I want to put out some more videos like this, and today, instead of leaning so much into the Reeves Batverse, even though that is still included in what we're about to break down together, we're going to look at the evolution of the Batsuit across all of live-action Batman. Now, this is really cool. It goes over not only actors' commentary, but directors' commentary. This gets in-depth into something that we all love, the iconography, the Batsuit of what makes up Batman across all the decades that he's been around. So in the comments, let me know your favorite Batsuit. I've done a Batsuit ranking video before, but my answer might be a teeny tiny little bit different because I want to tell you my favorite one at the very end. So I hope you guys enjoy this content, and I really am enjoying this retrospective series that we're doing on the channel. So first and foremost, thank you for your support, and if you do go on to enjoy this video, let me know by leaving a like, and there'll be for sure some more coming your way. Go! Adam West. Keaton. Epic music. Probably, I hope this isn't copyright. That's the thing, right? The Batman. The latest edition. The evolution of the Batsuit. And...
Are all the Batsuits destroyed, Alfred?
All except the prototype with the sonar modifications you invented.
I'm sorry, you guys know me with these retrospective commentary videos that we have now started. I offer quite a bit of commentary. Already Batman Forever here. Personally, for me, not every Batman fan is like this, but there is something to appreciate about each and every live-action Batman. Going back to films like Batman Forever, I really do appreciate the aesthetic that they've gone for, and I've already got that with just seeing these gadgets laying on the table, if you know what I mean.
But you haven't tested it yet.
But you haven't tested it yet.
Good night.
Oh, Val.
The clothes make the man, as they say.
And shout out to Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin. I believe the second name is, I butcher names. Love these guys, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. And, you know, fine hosts to talk about Batman.
In this instance, the cape, the cowl, and the clothes make the Batman. You need that symbol right there. Otherwise, I think the whole thing might be a little confusing.
And there's something to be said for the fact that his name is not just Batman, it's the Dark Knight. And that costume is a suit of armor.
In the comics, Batman doesn't need much protection. Bruce Wayne is so good at the job, he can wear the blue cape and the gray outfit and not sweat it. You could be that powerful. But once they brought Batman to the movies, not so much the TV show, because Adam West's Batman outfit was not protective at all.
I kind of get what Kevin Smith is saying there. And some people fail to somewhat really comprehend live action from comics, and they complain when something isn't so comics, right? Why isn't Batman effectively dodging bullets? Like, sometimes he kind of does go Neo mode from The Matrix. And what Kevin Smith is saying here is that, you know, sure, he's got a Batsuit in the comics, sure, there's gadgets, and I don't think Kevin Smith is negating how protective the suit is in the comics, but he's so good that, you know, you could argue that, yes, Bruce Wayne does still need the suit, I'm not going to lie, but, you know, to say it quickly, does he really need it? Because he's just so good, so ninja trained over those 10 years or so. But when you bring him into live action, yeah, you do need to have a bit more protection. But insanely quick, unrealistic movements in animation. You never know what the DCU Batman may bring. I'm super intrigued if there's going to be like a really large push to try and make that super almost comic book animated like, but in live action, and where it's so fantastical. I mean, I know we're going to get fantastical villains in the DCU. That unlike the Batverse with Matt Reeves, no doubt about the DCU. That's a no-brainer. But yeah, I went on that ramble because he does make a point there. Just like how with live action, with Robert Pattinson's Matt Reeves Batman, proper bulletproof armor everywhere.
That indicates a Batman who's like, I'm not afraid of anybody because I'm wearing this.
Adam
Riddler's
West.
up to something tricky.
Yeah, I'm not afraid.
Let us handle this.
I'm just going to be wearing these...
costume work for you?
And this is what I love about this. This is kind of like a collection of, I suppose, behind-the-scenes interviews from, well, just some interviews, but also, I guess, previous movie releases. Like, we're really going to get into it in this video, and that's why I'm really excited to do this kind of big geek out with you guys.
It certainly did for me. We emerged at a time that was very colorful, somewhat bizarre.
Yeah, it really was back then. God, that's why I love the different periods, right? You look at TV back then, obviously here with Adam West Batman, or, you know, Star Trek, and you go throughout the years, and then, you know, Tim Burton came along and really kind of gave that darker edge to The Dark Knight. And, you know, it's just fascinating watching different periods of TV and movie unfold the way they have. And imagine someone like Adam West back then, or just anyone in the 60s or 70s looking at Christopher Nolan's Batman or Matt Reeves' Batman, and the contrast of visions that is going on there is absolutely fascinating. But as I said, so much to appreciate here at the same time. I love it. It's so goofy. Might not be up everyone's street. It's not even mainly up my street in certain ways. But when you look at it through that lens, and you fully own, okay, this is goofy Adam West Batman with Cesar Romero Joker there, and it's still really something you can take in and appreciate for something that paved the way to where we are right now with modern Batman media.
You were a great Batman.
Sit down, Robin. Thank you.
When you wear a costume, especially
great
running
Batman.
around in tights as a grown man with a cape flowing, and a cowl that's so hot you can hardly breathe, the days become kind of long and very intense.
He says the cowl is so hot that you could barely breathe in that one. Man, I mean, maybe, I don't know what material that is made out of exactly, but that surely can't be as hard to breathe in as Ben Affleck's Batman's or Keaton's. I don't know, though. Maybe some of the cosplayers out there will be able to educate me on that.
I used to watch the Batman
Jim
66
Lee
shows, I think in the 70s.
Does amazing artwork. I'm sure you all know that, but I love some of his The Batman sketches.
So I was too young to see it when it first aired. It looked like state-of-the-art superhero costumes to me.
That's not your belt.
It was just beautiful. The textures, the velvety sheen of the cowl and the cape, the painted eyebrows.
And one thing about Adam West Batman cowl is as well, even though they're clearly not the same, but where I've got a freeze frame right here, does that look somewhat familiar to you? It takes me all the way back to when we first saw the DC fandom trailer for The Batman with Robert Pattinson. And his cowl, it definitely has this, mainly you can see the nose there. You can see the slight eyebrow lines. They're subtly in the suit. There's this kind of like hard surface underneath the leather that gives it that look. There's not stitching so much in this, but you can see the lines that Matt Reeves has tried to recreate from Adam West's lines in that cowl there. And that is something that I found so cool. What a way to somewhat modernize a very old Batman suit.
The utility belt looks super functional. The metal elements of the belt buckle, even on the bat symbol that was on the belt buckle itself.
When dealing with powerful criminal elements, one can never be too well prepared.
When you get into the world of the Batman movies, suddenly the suit becomes almost as big of a character.
I'm Batman.
89, baby. Where it all really kind of started to transform.
When Michael Keaton got cast as Batman, there was no internet. Yet, it broke the internet.
I love Kevin Smith. There was no internet. Yet, it broke the internet. Yeah, no, a lot of people weren't happy back then with the casting. And that's one thing I find really cool. I'm not saying Batman wasn't popular back then, because he was, but the fact that people were so opinionated, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, just like today, nothing's changed with whenever there's a new Batman casting, as late as Robert Pattinson's one, to Ben Affleck, believe it or not, to even Keaton back then. People are like, no, he's not going to be a good Batman. What are you on about? No. And the curse will never die until the actor proves the audience wrong.
With how many people were upset that Mr. Mom was going to be Batman, until they put out the very first photo of Michael Keaton wearing the Batsuit.
Okay.
When Tim Burton revealed his take on The Dark Knight, it was really revolutionary. I don't think we've ever seen a costume that was so devoid of color.
From the beginning, it just felt he was black. You know, just there was no question about it, not blue or dark gray.
Yeah.
Just go back to the psychology of what.
And I think subverting of expectations, if you will, is you know, and I'm not saying there isn't any other merits to bloody Tim Burton's movie. Of course there is. It's just going from what you had seen in Batman at that time. Sure, there was comics, but then you see a new live action. And some people may be watching this right now and being like, Boba, I just don't get it. Like, this still looks goofy to me. But, like, imagine yourself back then seeing this live action, whether you're 13 or 25 or 35. It's like, oh, damn, if you're kind of into stuff like this is the latest and greatest. And also such a dark and different vision, and arguably accurate, more gothic one to what was being portrayed. Now, technically, Batman hasn't always been portrayed that way in the source material in the early days. There was a bit of the newbie, very, very early Golden Age vibes to it all as well. But there is an evolution that was happening as times moved along. And Burton really started to somewhat be the bannerman for that.
Of what the guy is trying to do. He's trying to make a mythic, almost supernatural persona.
And I really admire even that cinematography there. You know, there's a lot of goofy parts to it that we all know and love, even to Burton's Batman, but you can see what he's really trying to pull off with the shots in his movies.
Nice outfit.
It had a really mysterious, almost fusion of like a modern day vampire with the Caped Crusader that we all knew from.
Look at that Bat computer.
He's trying to intimidate and frighten. You know, therefore, in the suit he creates for himself, he's going to try to look as imposing as possible. So that's where the black, tough texture, rubber, leather, heaviness, you know, we worked on several different types of weights of the cape.
Could you imagine being on those behind the scenes? Man.
In terms of easier to flow in the breeze, more heavy to give it a weight to it.
I've never been, I don't know about some of you guys, because there's concept art for even Reeves versus Batman. But I don't like the kind of like hooks, like the claw in the cape. It's a bit, I get what they're going for. Some people probably do really dig that. Of course, there's people out there like that. But for me, it's a bit too much of an animalistic approach to Batman, even though you could argue that's the whole point, is to invoke that fear, become the fear symbol, the Batman. So you add a bit more of the actual bat to it. But I don't know, man. I don't like it. I don't like it.
More wingspan, whatever we could do to give him the persona that he was trying to project.
Yeah, sure.
Suggesting is an interesting thing. You want it to look like you're wounded, but you're still going for it.
You had to adjust and work the suit. Yeah, that was an experience, but you know, I used it to help with character. You say, boy, you know, how fortunate am I that I got to be doing this? I don't think my body has recovered yet.
Oh, well, he did it again in the Flash movie. I mean, granted, you're a kind of a CGI model, but yeah, that must be really cool to, you know, do this back then, come back for the Flash.
Some kind of body armor.
He's got muscles. He's got protection. That was a revolutionary idea in the Batman mythos. Like, oh, yeah, why wouldn't he wear body armor? But as we see with the Michael Keaton Batsuit, mobility is a factor. Basically, you're...
Yeah. I mean, I know that's a charm, and some people dig it, and I get the charm, but I'm still like, I'm not a fan of, and we'll get to it even when it gets to Batman Begins.
Basically, your cowl is connected to the whole suit, and so anytime Michael Keaton Batman had to turn to face somebody, some of this.
But it is iconic.
Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed up like Batman?
Joel Schumacher comes into the Batman franchise and keeps it all relatively close to what the audience knows, with the exception of adding nipples.
What's wrong?
Nipples.
Schumacher's version of Batman was very archetypal, and I think for him he was trying to model it after classic sculptures from antiquity, because that's who these characters were. They were gods on Earth. And you do that by...
Yeah, you get what he's going for there. A lot of, you know, old armor, as just pointed out, was, you know, showing a lot of the anatomical structure, if you will. Like what makes up the muscular system, and that includes... I'm not saying nipples are muscles, but you know what I mean. So we put them on Batman.
By sculpting muscles into plastic.
My job was to put in everything new that I could. Bob.
I feel bad for him. It's just like he sat there, just like, give me a break. Okay, I'll explain it one more time. My job was to put in everything new that I could, okay? Like,
Bob Ringwood had designed the original Batsuits that Michael Keaton and the stunt people wore. By the time it got to 1994, he said that
my birth year. Here we are, the year of the nipple, I guess.
That process had been refined so much that we could have a much more body-fitting suit. And so we were able to sculpt it much more to the human anatomy.
I get, yeah, again, this is a sign of the, quite literally as per the title, the evolution of the Batsuit. But even, I'm not a big fan of muscles. I don't mind kind of parts to armor that are shaped. You know, there's lots of opinions about armor these days, whether it's MCU armor, too many lines or too many details, too many platings, this, that, and the other. But I don't mind the way, you know, for example, Matt Reeves' Batman, there is clear body armor there, right? There's somewhat shapes to it. But abs, I just think, are too on the nose. I think maybe it depends on the hero, if there's subtle ones. But even when it came to Zack Snyder's, well, just his Snyderverse, like Superman, you don't need the undersuit there, because there is an undersuit. I love the Man of Steel suit. They kind of took it a lot more low-key with the muscle padding there. But as you got on, there was a shiny metallic under kind of ab armor, where it's not as, you know, surface level as what we're seeing here on this suit, but they still did it. And I feel like with the BVS Justice League suit, it doesn't look nearly as good as the Man of Steel. You know, if Man of Steel was like brightened up, kind of like what it was in Black Adam, but not given the same muscles, brilliant. And yeah, same with Batsuits. Again, product of its time. Some of you may love that and want to see that in a future Batman. Maybe you want something like this on the DCU Batman. But I don't know, man. I feel like a kind of, you know, if you were to turn up the dial, you need to kind of turn it down a bit, find a happy medium there between different approaches. And I feel like that is what Matt Reeves somewhat did. But what you could say, if you were to take Matt Reeves' suit and put it into the DCU Batman, is maybe add more technological aspects. A brilliant way, I think, to do that, to make it a DCU Batman suit, would be like Telltale's Batman, where it's kind of that happy medium, but you got like these, you know, kind of screens on his gauntlets that can conjure up and things like that. That's what's really cool. And the ab armor isn't so in your face. Sure, you can have the somewhat pec muscles there showing, because a lot of Batman suits have that, but you don't need to go ham with pokey out abs and everything. So
I mean, and it worked.
Oh, black rubber.
Try fireman, less to take off. No one talks back to you when you're talking. You can't hear. You can't move. It's a long list of things that you can't do.
Some of those shots are great, by the way.
Do anymore when you're in the Batsuit, but it looks good.
The problem is everything covers your ears are
Clooney, you came back.
completely blocked, and your eyesight is like that, and everything is up underneath your throat, and everything.
I loved these movies when I was a kid, by the way. Like, you know, even Mr. Freeze, everything. I was just like, yeah, I was a kid. And, you know, and there's still stuff to be appreciated today. But when I was a kid, this was like the equivalent of me watching Can't Fight City Halloween in the Batman opening scenes. I'm being serious. Like, when you're a kid, you just see it like, oh my God, yeah. Even though it's wacky George Clooney Batman.
I think it's about 2 sizes too small. You're just clamped in. You can really only stay in for about 15 minutes before, if you're doing anything physical, before you have to get out.
By the time you get to the end of Batman and Robin, and even the end of Batman Forever, you get multiple outfits now in a Batman movie.
This is why Superman works alone.
Oh.
What?
And here we are, man. Where, like, Nolan kind of did what I would say is the Burton thing. And I think that's respectable to say. Sure, we had Clooney and, you know, different iterations along the way, but Nolan gave us that next true Pokemon evolution. Yeah, you have Charmander, go to Charmeleon, and then you have Charizard. You know, like, we needed, what was that next thing? And that was Christian Bale's Batman. And, yeah. You know, some people want that fantastical and they still want it. Like, because we've got, I see the comment all the time. It's just like, we've already had realistic with Christopher Nolan's Batman. I get what you're saying, but Matt Reeves' Batman, all while it is quite grounded in realism, what's the believable version of that he tries to find, as Matt Reeves says? I would say the difference between Nolan and Matt Reeves' Batman is that his is still more comic book inspired than Nolan's. Nolan's does like the Chicago, New York thing. Reeves blends multiple cities to create a city that you've never seen before. The lens of everything is so much more Batman Year One and Gotham and everything. Nolan's is more. They have that similarity of realism in a way, but still, I don't think comparing it straight up saying, oh, Matt Reeves' realism is just, we've seen that before with Nolan's. That's not the same thing. It's not the same movie at all. That's such an oversimplification. But anyway, rant over there. This is when we first saw, oh, what if we do Batman? Like, sure, the one fantastical aspect being Batman is kind of a larger-than-life thing we would have in our world today. But what if he did try to do that? And that was the new stamp we had never quite seen before.
Lost away.
Why
That's
bats?
frightened me. This time my enemies shared my dread.
Christopher Nolan really looked at the world of Batman and said, if this really existed, what would it look like? And brought as much realism, practicality into everything that we thought we knew about the world of Batman.
What I want
The Batsuit here is so good. So, like, I mean, the cowl, I still like the cowl. It's the neck bit for me. But the symbol, everything else to it is so nice. Now, I like the Dark Knight suit a lot. Once upon a time, I think I even preferred it. But Batman Begins, the suit there is, I would say, overall better. But there would still be major changes I would make. Not major, but like, again, neck and maybe a couple of other things. There are parts I like to the advanced suit in the Dark Knight. But there needs to be almost a little blending of, like, if you had the neck of the Dark Knight on the Begins suit, kept the Begins Batman symbol on the Dark Knight suit, maybe the color maintained, but the cape separating the armor a little bit with regards to color contrast there instead of making it all look one note. Yeah.
to do with the Batsuit was look at the history.
Look how good that is. The symbol, I mean, I get why they maybe made it a bit smaller and streamlined it, but that is a sick ass symbol.
Of the way that Batman had been drawn by all these different artists over the years, and look for the commonalities, look for the things that had stuck. I felt that you were going to need a suit that had a certain sort of contemporary hardware quality to it. It had to have a sense of function.
And that's another thing with Nolan's Batman. Like, it's really cool that he has these gadgets. He has the cape that can, like, get really hard through whatever the wave it was that kind of made it spring. And people want to see that on their Batman, and they take the piss out of Matt Reeves' wingsuit, that people actually go wingsuiting today off freaking cliffs and stuff. There's YouTube GoPro footage of that. But I like that, you know, if you subscribe and understand the lens that Reeves is going for there, especially with a Batman only 1 year, 6 months into year two, it makes sense. Now, with Bales, he didn't really make a lot of it himself. Sure, you could see him tinkering with the gear he got given by Lucius Fox here, but the major difference between this Batman and Robert Pattinson's Batman, not saying that Bales wasn't smart and didn't do that ballistic test and had the intuition to even do that and find the fingerprint on the bullet, etc., etc., but the Bruce Wayne and Matt Reeves' universe really did do everything himself, from every little, you know, nut and bolt and screw to the car, the Batmobile, to the suit, to the, sure, he probably ordered samples from Wayne R&D, but he was still, like, doing ballistic tests on his armor. Really, I mean, I guess you could say Batman here, he does, like, try the cowl, and he ordered, like, a bunch of graphite, I think, cowls, and they break very easily. You get what I'm saying, though. There is large differences in the approach to Bruce Wayne and his approach to the Batman vigilante career.
It would play into the credibility of, you know, Bruce Wayne putting on this extraordinary costume.
Yeah, he's making his own Batarang there, to be fair.
Survival suit for
that is a big difference.
advanced infantry. Kevlar bi-weave, reinforced joints. Tear-resistant. This sucker will stop a knife. Bulletproof. Anything but a straight shot.
Initially, it was something like a combat outfit, and then that's when we started designing it and hoping that it could be a survival suit type.
Another cool thing about that is, like, this Bruce Wayne, you know, his company was R&Ding some, like, military advanced gear, but as Matt Reeves has described, it's like police riot gear for him that early on. So both relevant takes, both takes that I could see Batman doing and has been done in early days Batman in the comics as well. You see Bruce in all kinds of different newbie armors at times, and it is, you know, something as simple as, like, hey, Robert Pattinson's Batman is like compiled, you know, different aspects and riot gear, straps on these shoulder pauldrons here, and he's got a plate here, but he's also got an actual belt that isn't so utility-esque as what Bale's Batman has got, but is still, you know, literally a utility belt. He's got more cargo pants that might be knife resistant, but maybe not so much bullet resistant, which is something I want to know a little bit more about. Like, if one of those bullets hit Robert Pattinson's Batman's legs, wouldn't it not go through and hit his thigh and puncture his skin? Whereas maybe Christian Bale's, you could tell that the armor's pretty much shaped all the way down to his like feet, so that could be still bullet resistant there.
Type thing, an advance on a wetsuit, waterproof, armor proof.
Yeah, I mean, look at the amount of shapes on that. It looks nice, but there's a lot more shapes.
And with components inside which maintain the body temperature, keep the
I want to see more of the Begin suit.
muscles from freezing up.
I wanted to combine that with the more operatic, the more graceful elements of the costume, particularly the use of the cape. It's very dramatic and operatic, and it blows and it flows and it has incredible drama to it. And we want to really embrace it and try and get some of the drama of that part of the costume onto the screen.
Awesome.
Hardened Kevlar plates
There it is.
over titanium dipped tri-weave fibers for flexibility.
He explored real-world composite material that would provide the most.
And that's what I mean. Like, I do expect like Pattinson's straps on his arms that symbolize the blades to actually become blades. One would hope, because that just seems like a simple upgrade to me. But then again, where would the straps go? Because he still kind of needs to strap them on. So I don't know. You never know. You never know how Pattinson's Batman suit is going to evolve.
Amount of protection mixed with mesh to obviously create the elasticity and freedom of movement that you needed in the suit.
You want to be able to turn your head.
It sure made backing out of the driveway easier.
I think he just really thought through it, and in that way reinvented it and made it.
One thing that I'll say is that Nolan's suits have got more hated on over the years than what they were at the time. And maybe that's like a natural thing that just happens in people's minds when you get new iterations coming out. You get like, oh, there's Ben Affleck's Batman suit. Oh, we've never seen a suit like this before. And then it's like, oh, Matt Reeves has done this with this. Even though I've seen a lot of hate with that suit, there's also still a lot of love. But yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing. I still think these suits are great overall. It's just weird how we look back at things sometimes and like, you know, people kind of turn on it, if you know what I mean. Not everyone, but it definitely feels like there's definitely some element to that.
Super exciting for a new generation of fans.
It never stops
that's
being
a nice
surreal.
suit.
It never stops giving me goosebumps. You know, just being that person where you walk down the steps and it's just little old me, but inside of this, you know, suit, everyone just stops and is looking. And I can't help but...
I'd maybe show a bit more of that chin, you know? I think, okay, that's one thing I do agree with. I never would have thought about this at the time, but yeah, it's just that little kind of mouth. It's like where my mustache ends, you know? It's just, that's it. That's it, you know? I don't know if Bale, I think he has the jawline for it. Like, you know, Pattinson has like a proper long one where it benefits the suit. Sometimes not everyone can pull that off, which is why the chin is covered sometimes. Some people even want Pattinson's chin and jaw to be covered, which is insanity to me. But maybe it still would look good because it would be just so extruding out there in the way that his chin just really fits a bat suit. I don't know.
Feel immensely in those moments. I recognize the honor of being able to play this icon.
Where are you?
Here.
Zack Snyder doesn't have the same
Snyder!
kind of, like, it's got to make sense that Chris Nolan's got when it comes to the Batman. So for him, it's like, what looks coolest? And to him and to the whole world, what looked cool was what Frank Miller did in The Dark Knight Returns. So in Batman v Superman now,
I mean, this is what I mean. With every new Batsuit that comes along, everyone's like, forget about the old one. Look at this one. Oh my God. And it's not just because it's novelty. It is a good suit. Now, I've always said this. Let me get this out of the way. I love the suit so much, but Ben Affleck's neck, it's not that he can't turn his neck in this suit. I just think that the sides of it, it's like it gets rid of his neck. And this is with all due respect. I really love this suit, but his body goes from like this to no neck. And he's like this. That's the only thing. In some shots, it looks amazing, but then like if he's ever face on, you know, he's like this. But if he's from the side, it's like, okay, you got the cowl, you got the shoulders there, you got the Batsuit, he looks cool. But then it's like, you catch him like this sometimes. So that's the only thing. But other than that, I remember this movie coming out. I mean, say what you will, a lot of people had a lot to say, but the Batsuit, Snyder really had some awesome designs there. And this Dark Knight Returns rendition into real life is just, oh my God, it looks so good. Which, by the way, fun fact, I put at number 1 of my top Batsuits ranked video, with Robert Pattinson's at rank 2. And that was because at the time of making that ranking video, we had only literally seen the first DC Fandom trailer. So it felt like I hadn't seen enough of it to really know. So at the time, my favorite Batsuit was this one. But more on that in a bit.
You get a Batsuit that looks like Frank Miller's Batman.
Look at that.
Batsuit.
Sick.
It's got the big fat bat on it. When he fights
That
Superman,
is insane.
he puts him in the armor.
So is that.
It's amazing, like, you know, you see the Batsuit and you just go, that's awesome, right? Like, that's cool. Like, I want to be Batman, you know, like, it's really an interesting sort of psychological thing that's happening now because it's so coded into us at this point. Like, our response to it is so visceral and so deep, you can't even really analyze it.
His power wasn't through the armor and the technical details of the suit, but just the brute strength of the man inside the suit.
Yeah, so you know that is something with this Batman, as they just said there. His suit was kind of simplified down. You know, Pattinson's Batman's got like this clearly, like almost like a 1.5 inches or so of bulletproof material. So that's why he could walk through Falcone's corridor the way he did. This Batman, you could argue that, yes, it's bulletproof. I mean, for crying out loud, Ben Affleck's Batman got shot point blank on his cowl in the head. And that would give you a mighty concussion, my God, but comic books say. But he also got stabbed right through the shoulder, so it pierced the Batsuit. It's not even really knife-proof because that guy point blank stabbed him. So, yeah, his Batfleck is kind of what I think Kevin Smith was saying at the beginning, and where he is, the suit is such that it's trying to maybe mirror the more comic book approach where, and this isn't always true, as I put that little thing in parentheses by saying, well, comic book Batman also has technologically advanced protective suits. But if you do show a suit where he's not worrying so much about protection, it's because he's so good, so ninja-like. And I think, yes, this rings back to what Kevin Smith said. This Batman doesn't have, like a little gadget, like hologram screen popping up out of his gauntlet. He doesn't have this. He has bare minimum, and it's the brute strength and the ability that Ben Affleck's Batman just absolutely projects out there. That, while it might not be the best protection compared to other Batsuits, it's kind of almost like he doesn't need it. And as per what we saw in the warehouse fight scene, maybe he didn't. But then again, we've seen Ben Affleck's Batman get more and more armored suits as he's appeared throughout the years in Justice League and even the Flash movie.
Well, I got in the best shape that I'd ever been in, and then I sort of got past that as we were going for this idea of like a big, hulking, thicker bruiser, sort of Frank Miller, Dark Knight physique, which was more like big brawler.
I think for Ben, it really helped him that he could move in it, that he could do.
What's really cool about this as well, you know, we talk about a more agile MMA fighter Batman, like with, you know, Robert Pattinson's Batman, which is a perfectly valid, you know, everyone says, oh, but Batman's supposed to be like this. No, stop right there. No matter what anyone says, there are different types. There are different types of Batman. There's more agile versions of Batman. There's more you know, bulkier, hulkier versions. Now, normally, yes, the different types of Batman reflect different periods of his life, so you could argue that Pattinson's Batman could go on to be bulky by the time of his canonical Dark Knight Returns, you know, timeline or length when he eventually gets there. So do you see what I mean? But what I was trying to get to is that even with the Dark Knight Returns hulking body type here that Affleck got into, he's very agile still, very quick. That is what is very cool about it.
Do all he needed to do, and you get a sense of the actor and the performance within the suit rather than the suit wearing Ben. The suit, in fact, skims the body. You can see every muscle. You get this impression of a tower of strength.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, wherever you go, I'm watching you.
That costume was very fierce, menacing, physically super imposing. It looked more comics accurate, It leaned on the gray palette of...
I love when he's in the corner, that when the GCPD cop is just going in and you just see him there and he moves like an actual... Obviously what Snyder was going for there is that, as per the fear, the symbol of Batman, he kind of did move like freaking Dracula, unrealistically so. And yet, it sold it well. Like, this is what Batman is like to people who are kind of spooked out by him in that moment. And it's so epic.
Of the costume from the comic book itself.
Also, Zack really wanted the costume to look like it had been around for a long time, that he'd fought in this costume over the decades, and there's like a battle-worn quality to the costume.
The mask was fairly unadorned, simple, but also he introduced these furrowed brows that was built into the cowl itself, which certainly the way I drew Batman.
Yep. Here we are. Oh yeah.
We have a signal now.
We have a signal now.
For when I'm needed.
It's so cool, man. Like, I'm really still trying to not project recency bias, but like, I just think that this is the coolest definitive, even though definitive, what I mean by that is within this tone, because you could be like, but Boba, how can you say this is definitive Batman if technically in the comics Batman has like really fantastical rogues gallery? I get what you're saying, but this is like within the tone and lens of like the grounded, unwinding that with what Reeves' approach is, version of Batman that there is. I think, oh my god, it's so good. It nails everything in the fundamental character, molecular level of Batman is what I'm on about.
But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call.
Yo.
It's a warning.
Yo.
To them.
When you look at what Matt Reeves is doing with the Batman movie, like Nolan's take, it leans more on the realistic side of things.
Yep.
It's drawing upon real-world armored suits. I see a lot of samurai.
Exactly. I you know what? I still like, and I respect everyone's opinions. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But some people say that this is like dog water, like bad. Like that Batsuit is so, like, I can't even remember how, like, the kind of comments that they leave. But trust me when I say that the descriptive words they use, it's like it's truly horrifically bad to them. And I don't get that. I don't get it. It's so cool to me.
Right influence in what he's doing. I see a lot of medieval knight suits of armor influences in his take.
Yeah.
The Batsuit is an evolution. This is the year 2 version, and I wanted you to get the feeling.
Listen to that. I mean, it's kind of obvious anyway, but the Batsuit is an evolution, Matt Reeves says. And this is the year 2 version. What's the year 3 version like?
That Bruce had put that together in the Batcave, and definitely riot gear, police tactical riot gear, military gear was an inspiration for the crafting of it.
Yeah.
The suit itself, it's all divine.
These people, I mean, all the costume designers are amazing, but from all the behind-the-scenes stuff I've observed of the Batman movie, oh my god, some of it is so... I mean, you guys know I'm in love with this particular lens for Reeves's Batverse costume, but these guys, they really do an incredible job and attention to detail.
I did into kind of panels and elements. It's very much based from sort of late Vietnam period to contemporary kind of military tech.
That's really cool. See, you know, how it the parts of it like clips in there.
Techniques in sort of ballistic protection.
We take stuff from real life and introduce it into the costume. So
that's what I mean about the belt. Like, it's less of a Nolan futuristic, hey, Lucius, give me this kind of belt. It's like, no, that's kind of a belt. Like, literally, like a tactical belt. But he's clipped pouches onto it. You can see the adrenaline, the epinephrine shots there. You can see that little kind of circular bit there. He's got the bombs, like three or four of them, and where one of them he sticks on the pipe when he's fighting the goons. Would love to know what he's got in some of the other belts, pouches there, and obviously handcuffs and some other bits.
with his utility belt, he's got police issue ammo pouches and packs, and the same with the boots. There's just like Austrian army boots. He's made a top to them as a protective
Austrian army
The whole
boots.
idea that it should feel very real and grounded.
Look at that fucking mechanism. We're going back. We're looking at that again.
Police issue ammo pouches and packs, and the same with the boots. There's just like Austrian army boots. He's made
If any of you want these boots, they're Austrian army boots, apparently. I'm going to look that up. I'm just going to walk around my local town wearing these. Probably cost a fortune, though.
The top to them as a protected shin. The whole idea that it should feel very real and grounded in reality.
Look at that. I would give anything to have this mechanism, just like a prop like this. I did hear that. I think they even say it in the behind the scenes, this worked half the time, and half the time it just got stuck. Fair play, but at least they made something functional.
The purpose of the Batsuit, it's to intimidate and scare the hell out of the criminal element. That's why he's chosen this image.
Matt, I wanted it to be scary, so
Yeah.
I thought maybe if it could be more skull-like. They're the kind of feeling sculpted in like you would.
Never really heard that take before properly. And I get it. It is more skull-like. If you think about it, like especially this shot here, no wonder they chose this shot right after he said, make it more scary, okay, more skull-like. The cowl here, on top of like what I went over with the Adam West vibes, it is kind of like the top of a skull, if you will. That's really cool, especially with like the under the leather. Clearly there's some like metallic. I mean, this is bulletproof, as we know. He gets shot in the head, just like Affleck, and you know, he kind of lays on the floor a bit right before the Batmobile car chase. But yeah, there's a little metal thing under there, and that's what frames those eyebrows to be like that. But yeah, also to make it more skull-like, and that's really cool.
Around a skull. And this nose piece, because it's that kind of square, like from the front, it's got that feeling maybe of a skull where there's just that opening in the face. It looks like almost like he's just got a strap over his nose kind of thing. And obviously it's also inspired a little bit by the Adam West square.
Yeah.
He took the ears and went even more into sort of a devil horn kind of shape with them.
My favorite is, I really do mean that. I like all Batman is. I like long ears. I like really short Dark Knight Returns-esque ears. But they're not my preference. If I was to sign off myself like a list, I'd be like, okay, right, I approve this for this movie. I would be like, this is the perfect ear length. Not too long, not too short. Just kind of like there in the middle, you know?
And then the other thing he did, which was really interesting to me, was taking the cowl and really taking it far back so that it almost looks like a mask versus a whole helmet that encompasses the face. I think it really just gave him the full mobility of the head.
You put on the suit and you immediately feel incredibly powerful. There's obvious benefits to it. And also just
And I was talking about the leg protection earlier. You can tell that with those kind of cargo-y, military, whatever grade pants that he's wearing there is like a puffiness to them. So I feel like they've got some kind of padding in them. Not like necessarily like muscular padding, but there's some kind of you know, like if you're on a construction job or site or something like that, sometimes you can get trousers that have, if you were to lean on your knees, there's kind of something that protects your bones grinding on the floor. It's like he's got that there. So maybe it could be Kevlar weaved or something like that, where if a bullet landed there, it actually would protect his thighs, you know, and the major arteries that can run through there.
Trying to figure out how to project a performance through a mask, basically, is kind of, you realize pretty quickly that this is way harder than a normal part. You have a new face, basically, and anything which you could rely on before in terms of performance is just suddenly out the window. And you have to just relearn an entirely different language. I find that really fun to try and find just a new way of doing something when a lot of your heroes have played it before.
I have to become more. People need hope, to know someone's out there for them.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to see where those lines from Batman at the end, what that means for part 2.
I think the Batsuit travels further than Superman's outfit because of this. Because once you pull on the cowl, anybody could be Batman. You know, that fantasy element of like you're going to enshroud yourself to become this different person. We can't all be Superman. We don't even look like the guy. Look at these outfits around us. They are.
I've seen that up close myself. It really does look really cool, by the way. I mean, I know you already kind of, but when you see it, you see like the little teeny tiny tinsy little details and tiny little hairs even coming off the plates on the chest there. There's all kinds of things you pick up. And check out that video, by the way. I went to see it right on the launch of the Batman movie.
Undeniably cool. It's supposed to strike fear into the hearts of criminals. That's the idea behind the suit. But, you know, it's never made me feel anything but positive, empowered. So it always blows my mind when he descends on somebody in the comics and they're all like, Batman! I'm like, what?
Well, I mean, I get what he's saying. Like, we find it so awe-striking and cool, but like, it is. But if you're a criminal, and as he says, if he descends upon someone and they're like, Batman, if you see that suit because of the wrong reasons, like you're mugging someone, you're committing a crime, you would be terrified because, yeah, as cool as his suit may be, if you saw a actual, like, let's say Robert Pattinson, like, coming out of the train, the fight scene there, maybe even a couple years on where the city knows him even more and criminals know him even more, and you're doing something truly heinous as a criminal, yeah, that is the point. And I know Kevin Smith knows. And then this is what I think, we've talked about before with the end of the movie. He's a symbol of hope. And I think I've seen some people say as if like, oh, we're not going to see scary Batman anymore. Yes, just because Batman is a symbol of hope, he's a symbol of hope when they see that suit or that Batman to the right people, to the citizens of Gotham who he saved, right, from the Riddler's flooding. But if you're doing the wrong thing on the wrong night and you know full well what you're doing is wrong, and potentially really dangerous, and you're threatening someone's life, whatever it is that you're doing, and then you see that suit, that symbol of fear is very much so simultaneously equipped with hope. It just depends who you are, and as a result of who you are is what kind of feeling you will experience, fear or hope. And maybe they'll show a scene like that towards the beginning of the second movie instead of like where at the beginning of the Batman we see Batman strike fear in people, like Jailer Cargo running at the end there. But he also scared. The guy he saved was also terrified. Maybe a nice contrast would be to show that fear, as I just said, with the criminals, with Batman again, whipping their asses. Similar kind of scene. I don't know what it would be, but something like that in the opening monologue of part 2. But the person he saves is like, yay! Like they're not afraid like the guy was at the train station. That would be so cool.
Like you're in Gotham City and you're doing bad things. Yes, he's gonna show up, of course. But to me, if he showed up, I'd be like, Batman! Because who don't like that suit?
You wouldn't be committing a crime though, Kevin. I would like to think. And there we have it. That is the end of the video. So I really, really enjoyed that. I hope you guys did as well, like diving into, it's not just Kevin Smith's commentary there. It's like the actors, the directors, the different approaches, why they went for what they went for at the time, the decade they went for, the reasons why with Nolan's realism, but also then with Burton's transformation and evolution there. But the overall evolution from Adam West all the way up until Matt Reeves is all so fascinating. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, I wanted to say my favorite Batsuit, and it's at no surprise, it is Matt Reeves' Batsuit. And that is mainly because, as I said in the previous ranking, I put Ben Affleck's BVS Batsuit, the Dark Knight Returns inspired one, as my number one. You can even go back and watch that video if you want. But again, we'd only had the DC fandom footage at that point, and you do see the Batsuit somewhat head on, and you do see him beat up the criminal at the end, but you still didn't. I mean, we saw quite a bit in that trailer, but not truly enough for me to get that feeling. So it didn't quite level up over Ben Affleck's at the time. But now, for sure, hands down, any day, Robert Pattinson's Batman suit is overall my favorite kind of blend of what they tried to go for there to bring about a Batman with the way that Matt Reeves executed that design, or the people who helped actually make that suit. But for sure, Ben Affleck's is a second, and then whatever else the rankings were in that video. But let me know your favorite Batsuit down in the comments below. Maybe this video made you rethink your ranking a little bit. Maybe you want to kind of have like a little bit of an honorable mention. Maybe it's like, okay, this is my favorite suit, but it seriously would almost be this one, but nah, this one is still my favorite. Let me know any and all thoughts like that down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, guys, would really appreciate a like. It really helps me out, especially in this period of where there's not so much going on. Just trying to get some more content out for you until things slowly get back to normal. We're hearing that the WGA and AMPTP are going back to the meeting table for the strike, so you never know. Fingers crossed. But until then, expect some more videos like this. I hope you guys keep on enjoying them. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you, Bat Family, in the next video. Goodbye.